What's up, everybody? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well so far today. And we've got more linebackers to look at, and we've got quite a few because there's a pretty good collection of guys that are likely going to go in that day three area of the draft at the position. So we've got some names to go through here. Obviously, these guys, for one reason or another, are not as appealing as the guys we did yesterday, but there's still something there. And somebody in this group, or a few somebodies, they're going to be good players. Some of them might only be good situationally, some of them might only be good on special teams, but there's something here. So let's start with a big school guy, Tommy Eichenberg of the Ohio State Buckeyes. 23 when the season starts, 6'2", 233 pounds, size is pretty decent. Kind of short arms, 31 and 5/8, but it's okay. 9 1/4 inch hands. His vertical was not very good. His broad was not very good. His 20-yard shuttle was okay. So not the greatest athletic profile from his testing. Big boards, most have him in the fourth. The aggregate has him in the fourth. Walter Football's the only one that really likes him. They have him in the third. His stats took a big step back in 2023. I think there was some extenuating circumstances, but overall, it seems like he was a worse player. 82 tackles, 2.5 for loss, and a sack. 61.5 PFF grade. 2022, it was much more prolific. 12 tackles for loss, 120 tackles, 686.8 PFF grade. So definitely took a little bit of a step back for Ohio State in 2023. What I can say about him positively is I think he's a sound tackler in open space. I think he's got the fundamentals of tackling down pretty good, which is obviously going to be very important for him going forward because we already kind of established that he doesn't have stellar athleticism to be a big time playmaker. Solid linebacker instincts, which again, that's going to be important because I think the cerebral parts of the game are going to have to carry this guy through. He's got a high football IQ. He takes on blockers with enough force to disrupt the play. He's somebody who will meet a blocker in the hole and force the running back to bounce elsewhere because the hole isn't there because he occupied the blocker in the hole. He's pretty good in zone coverage as well. You put him in zone coverage, he's going to have the awareness and feel to hold up in coverage. The issues with Eichenberg are pretty clear. He's not much of an athlete. He covers ground slowly. He's not really a sideline to sideline guy. He's somebody who moves more purposefully, somebody who can play fairly well if he's able to keep up with the play, but there are going to be some plays he just can't really keep up with. And his change of direction is slow, which is something that we didn't really get to see at the combine because he didn't do the 3-cone, but it's there. So he doesn't really have that. He doesn't shed blockers well. He takes on the blocker well, but once he gets blocked, he doesn't shed the way you would like. So he's got half of it down, right? He can do part of it, but the other part of it, once he gets blocked, he tends to get pushed out of the play. And he'll never be good in man coverage in all likelihood because he's not athletic enough for it, and he doesn't have the reactive athleticism you need to be good in man coverage. So Eichenberg um, feels like he's already kind of capped out. I don't see how he gets that much better than this because he doesn't have some deep well of athletic ability to dive into here. He's getting by on smarts and fundamentals and intelligence and toughness. I I don't think the things that are holding him back can really be fixed. In the modern NFL, it doesn't work, so I'd say fifth round only. Special teams value is there for him, but I don't see a ton else. Next guy I want to look at here is Curtis Jacobs of the Penn State Nittany Lions. This one is kind of the opposite of the previous guy, Eichenberg. 22 years old, 6'1", 241 pounds, so he's got kind of old school linebacker size. 31.5-inch arms, 10 1/4 inch hands. He killed the combine, especially for a guy who's 240 plus. 4.58, 40, 1.59, 10-yard split, pretty good. Good vert, good, really good broad. Bench press, not so much, but I'm not super worried about that in comparison to how good his athletic profile is overall. ESPN has him in the late third, actually. CBS has him in the fifth. PFF has him in the seventh. The aggregate overall has him in the fifth. I think this guy's going to go a little bit higher than that because there's some potential here. Like, you look at the numbers at Penn State, they weren't anything over the top. Over the last 2 years combined, he's got about 100 tackles, which is not going to blow anybody away. But then you look at it and you're like, well, 16.5 for loss, 6.5 sacks. He's making plays. He's doing stuff in the backfield at a high rate. And those Penn State defenses were really good. And PFF grade was never stellar, but it was okay. So there's an interesting template here with Curtis Jacobs, I think. And he kind of strikes me as a guy with a lot of potential to get better. The question is, will he tap into that? A lot of these guys have that potential and don't, but Curtis Jacobs seems to have upper level potential to me. In fact, I would say this guy is likely to be a better pro than he was a collegiate linebacker. And he was the leader on some really good defensive units at Penn State. They had some absolute shutdown units there. He's bigger than most modern linebackers by a good 10 to 15 pounds. He's got good size. And when you combine that with his athletic profile, it's actually pretty remarkable what he's able to do physically out there. So that's going to be appealing to a lot of people. He's really good at the stack and shed game. When a blocker gets up to him, he's really good at meeting the blocker on his terms and getting off of the blocker to go make a play on the ball. He works through traffic really well, and he's got good technique when he's tackling ball carriers. So in terms of the foundation for a linebacker, Curtis Jacobs has a lot. Now, his instincts are not great, which is part of the reason why he doesn't make very many tackles. I feel like his instincts are just, sometimes they're good, and that's when he makes those plays in the backfield, but sometimes his instincts are off. And instincts, they can be tough to teach sometimes. I don't know if he'll pick it up or not. He doesn't read plays as well as you would like for an inside linebacker. He's an okay blitzer, but his coverage skills leave a lot to be desired. He's got 2 passes defensed over the last 2 years, and he doesn't really offer that much in zone drops. He doesn't seem to have great field awareness when he's in zone. So I would also look at Curtis Jacobs as somebody who doesn't offer a ton of value on passing downs. Might be a rundown linebacker mainly. His angles when chasing the ball carrier down are suspect. Sometimes he can make up for it with his speed, but that's going to be harder at the NFL level. So there are some real issues here. However, I think that most of this stuff is fixable, unlike a guy like Eichenberg. This is fixable. He could get better instincts with experience. He could become a better cover player. He could become a better blitzer. His angles could improve. These are things that can be fixed. So while he probably won't fix all of it, he's got a good chance of fixing some of it. He's only going to be 22 when his NFL career starts. So why not? It could happen. And if he fixes one of these things that I've listed here, like 4 things where he's got a little bit of a problem, now you're talking. So late 4th round, give him a call. That's what I would do with Curtis Jacobs. Late 4th round, can't go that wrong. Bet on the potential. Final guy for this video is going to be Trevon Wallace of Kentucky. And this one's really interesting. He's kind of like a more extreme example maybe of Curtis Jacobs in some ways. So he's really young, only going to be 21 when the season starts, 6'1", 237 pounds, nice size, 32 and 5/8 inch arms, 9 and an 1/8 inch hands. So the size is pretty good. Ran a 4.51 40, 93rd percentile. Now the weird thing with Wallace was the 1.62 10-yard split, which was not very good. And that indicates that while he has great top-end speed, his acceleration and burst might not be there. But it's a 40 time. At the end of the day, what you see on the field is more important. He had a great vertical and an excellent broad jump as well, so he's a very explosive athlete. Big boards all over the place. ESPN 3rd, Walter Football 4th, CBS and PFF 7th. The aggregate kind of splits the difference and says late 4th or early 5th. Production over the last 2 years has been pretty good. Mainly 2023 was where he started to kind of burst out there a little bit. 80 tackles, 8.5 for loss, 5.5 sacks, a pick, a forced fumble. PFF grade was okay. The previous year, the volume was less, but the PFF grade was higher, almost 70. So Trevon Wallace definitely got some positive stuff to bring in here, but the potential from his testing numbers and his physical profile is definitely better than what he's actually got in terms of production. His size and speed is very impressive. He's an explosive athlete, covers a lot of ground, sideline to sideline. You're not going to keep him out of any play. He's constantly around the ball, constantly making really impressive athletic plays to be involved. He's got great blitzing skills as well. You can see the 8 sacks over the last 2 years. Really good blitzer, uses that speed well. And when you see him blitz, he uses his burst, which leads me to believe that his 10-yard split was not indicative of what he is on the field. He's also a solid tackler. He's somebody who understands how to tackle at the NFL level, I think. So he's not going to miss a ton of tackles at the NFL level. But just generally speaking, inconsistent play plagues him. He's inconsistent as a player. He struggles with the more cerebral side of the game, the instincts, reading the play, and getting up ahead of the play. Those are the areas where he needs to improve significantly. His coverage is sloppy. His blitzing, while he's got the skills, and you can see the impact of those skills with the 8 sacks over the last 2 years. There's some refinement that he needs so he can close the deal more often. There were a lot of sacks that he left on the table at Kentucky, I think. And you can fool him with eye candy. Play action is going to suck him in. Misdirection on running plays is going to suck him to the wrong side. And you can kind of just get him out of the play just by tricking him. So he's got a ton of talent, but he doesn't necessarily have the production or play to totally back that talent up. But great project, right? He's only 21 years old. And with those testing scores, there's a great player in here somewhere. And I really like Trevon Wallace. I've grown to really like this guy the more I've looked at him. And personally, I would say it's open season as soon as day 3 kicks off. I will take him in the early 4th round and feel pretty good about it. Obviously, it can go wrong, but there's so much to like here. There's so much that is appealing with Trevon Wallace that if I have to spend an early 4th round pick to bring him in, I'd do it, and I wouldn't feel bad about it. All right, so that's it for this video. Let me know what you think of these 3 linebackers. Let me know if you think I miscalculated or if you have anything to add. More linebacker videos coming soon. See you guys later today. Go Hawks. Let's move on.